I was involved in a ministry in high school, and the term that people would use today is I was groomed. I was dizzy all the time. I couldn't get enough sleep. I was just trying to do my best as a young mom. I was a personal trainer. Toxic environment for me. Everybody was drinking all day long, liquid lunch, breakfast, mimosas. The tennis players were drinking, the golfers. And it just, that whole culture encouraged it. And so, gradually started drinking. It started with just wine. It started just with friends. And so it just got worse and worse and worse. Drinking even more. I would hide it from Brian. And then I started drinking in the morning and I would like cancel work. I was like so embarrassed. I'm a pastor's wife. I'm an alcoholic. I just cannot believe this. At the same time, I didn't realize I had that much trauma. It did affect my kids. I can't go back and change that. That first year of sobriety was awful. I was suicidal, but Jesus and God has totally redeemed this. He's reversed it. And that's part of the reason I wanted to share my story. Let's be authentic. Let's not hide. Let's talk
Hmm.
about mental health. Let's talk about this.
Hey there, welcome to the Mental Perk podcast. I'm Carla Hutcherson, licensed professional counselor.
And I'm Brandy Mock, entrepreneur, author, and community leader. And we're here to talk about
Real people, real issues, and real talk. Welcome back to the Mental Perk. Today we are going to welcome Amy Land to our episode and our show. We're so excited to have her here. Amy has lived in Brevard, North Carolina with her husband of 32 years. Way to go, Amy, for long-term marriage. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
she has been involved in ministry for over 30 years. She helped start a church, Grace Brevard Church, about 7 years ago in the area that they work in. But also, I want to announce that Amy is a professional fitness trainer of over 16 years. So that is a lot of years in the personal fitness industry. And so we are so excited to get some, really good advice from her through this episode. It's going to be awesome. Amy has worked one-on-one with thousands of clients and has personally journeyed her own mental health through childhood trauma, anorexia, addiction, some postpartum depression, and even some sobriety. So Amy's going to be open to sharing her story with us. We're so excited to have her here. Her experience as a professional trainer is just invaluable, as she has not only done her own recovery, but she is helping many women do that through her very important nonprofit, PurplPlace. She's going to tell us about that and how people can get involved with that ministry as well. She received her bachelor's from Texas A&M. Whoop! And she also is a certified NSCA and CSCS training. She has a certification from Cornell University in nutrition, and she is the executive director of PurplPlace. Welcome, Amy.
Welcome, Amy.
Thank you very much, Carla and Brandy. Thank you for having me.
Well, we just can't wait to learn about your journey. Tell us a little bit about living in North Carolina. Were you part of that hurricane situation?
Oh, yes. Okay. So Hurricane Helene happened, I guess it was mid-September last year of 24. Yes. So we live in Brevard, which is just south of Asheville. We lived in Asheville for 13 years and we moved to Brevard 7 years ago. So um, it was just horrific. Like all the stories are true of how horrible it was. It was like having I can't even remember the number of trillions of gallons of water just pour on us overnight. The wind and the micro tornadoes that they've never like in all the systems, that the Weather Channel monitors and the meteorologists monitor, they've never seen it like this. They've never seen it happen like this. And it wasn't expected. We were expected to get a lot of rain, but nothing like this. And it was so devastating. We didn't have power for a couple weeks, and that included cell phone coverage because the towers were down. That was actually probably the worst part for us because
I could
we're on a
imagine.
well. We're on a well, so we did have water because we had a generator. But if you didn't have a generator and you're on a well, you're out of luck. You can't have you
Wow.
don't didn't have any water. And so we just happened to have like a partial house generator. People in Asheville who were on city water, the whole water system was ruined and they did not have water for, I believe it was 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
Oh my
They had
goodness. I
makeshift,
can't even imagine
yeah.
that.
Well,
Wow.
imagine the hospitals and the schools. Like schools were shut down, hospitals were shut down. The main hospital actually had some experts come out, Mission Hospital, and they dug a well within like 1 week for the whole hospital.
Wow.
Like some serious hydrologists came out and like they said, we have to do this. We have to dig a well for the whole hospital. Um, and so that was horrible for Asheville and some other neighborhoods around Asheville. But we had water because we had a well, and then our city water in Brevard was fine. Our
Nice.
road and our house was fine, but our road was ruined. We probably had I don't know, 2 dozen trees down on the road, and we had see our road is a switchback and it's on top of a mountain, and it's not like you can just we could just go out and go back to go into town. It was out of commission. And like the first, when I woke up, because the storm happened very, very early in the morning, and I got up and I saw the condition of the road, and my thoughts were, well, I guess everybody's dead. Like
Wow.
if our road is this bad, then everybody's dead. And of course they weren't. Just some miraculous stories of how, we personally did not know anybody who lost their lives, but
Cities
we
of
do know some
survivors
people.
for sure.
And I think the
Yeah.
crazy thing too, Amy, is isn't it kind of rare to have tornadoes hit in the mountains like that? I mean, when
Yes,
I think tornadoes, I
we do
think
not.
flat land.
Yeah.
We don't have tornadoes. But the only way they could explain it, that's the only thing, because there were rivers that became relocated and new rivers were formed overnight.
Wow.
And you just think about that for a second. How we think, God created the world in 7 days. Well, how did he do it in 7 days? Like this.
Ah,
Like,
you know what? You saying that, that's very interesting.
yeah,
That is
because
amazing. I would have never thought of it like
Me
that.
either.
yeah, so there were they don't even know I'm not sure what they're called, microburst tornadoes, very small ones, but hundreds and hundreds of them all at once over the mountain. So if you can imagine it, a mountain, tons of trees and forestry, just all over, and tornadoes, and then water up here, water down here. And we were already kind of flooded before this happened. We had had rain for about a week every day. And so there was no, the saturation level was probably 100%. And then you get trillions of gallons dumping from up here on the mountain. Whoever's on that side down here, it's bad news, because
Wow.
all the trees are coming down with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then some rivers were relocated. Then it made some new rivers. And there was a way to describe some of the trees on the mountain slope. You know how when you have a sequin dress and you can go like this and all the sequins move,
Yep.
Yes.
you move over? That's how the trees were like, you just look like somebody just came along with their hand and went, psh,
Oh my
like,
gosh,
Wow.
that's insane.
yeah.
I
And
don't know
so
that
the
there's
trauma,
enough stories out there where people really understand what you guys went through during this time period. And I know still going through because the recovery, I mean, like people are still rebuilding and things are still
yes,
not where they need to be.
yes. No, they're not where they need to be. Our community has done really well, but we have 70 additional families that lost their homes. And so we're still rebuilding and finding them homes. And our community is only 40,000 people. You can
Wow.
imagine Asheville's really big. I don't even know how many, they're approaching 1 million now. Um, but how much more they would have. So the collective trauma that comes from that, of knowing that you don't have control, that you could lose your house in a minute, which I have several friends that lost everything, that lost their houses and everything. The collective trauma that comes from that in a community has been huge. Like, just I can't really explain it. But also on the other side of that, the collective healing, like
Mm.
Yeah.
so much has been shared and given, the generosity of just everybody, the stories of God just coming in, and there'll be somebody that comes in. Our church is right downtown, and we served thousands of meals those first few weeks, thousands of people through meals those first few weeks, and the Boys and Girls Club, brought their kids down and ate because we had some donations. But anyway, the there would be a need like down the road. Somebody said, well, somebody needs a generator. The Sharing House, the nonprofit, they need a generator. Somebody just brought us a generator. Here you go. And that
Wow.
happened over and over, hundreds of times, hundreds and hundreds of times. That would
It's
happen.
so amazing. It's so amazing that things like this can really uh, beef up humanity and help people really connect again. Because in this world where
Yes.
everybody is all in different places and in different extremes, when
Mhm.
something like this happens, it's so neat to see people joining together and working together, no matter what their differences are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so true. And I've even heard like other agencies saying we need to look at how Western North Carolina did this in response to a disaster because we need to replicate it.
Yeah.
The other nonprofits and churches stepped in. It wasn't the government.
Yeah, that's what we're
Yeah,
hearing. A lot of that was.
we're, we're still waiting on our for FEMA to come out and fix our road, or to at least give us some money to fix our road. Our road will be a couple $100,000 to fix. And there's 24 properties up here that need FEMA to, but they haven't, and they'll send different agents out and the agents don't talk to each other. They don't even know, it's not organized or anything. So, but the nonprofits and the churches are the ones that stepped in the neighborhoods to do all this.
Now, do you feel like
So,
the new administration's gonna? I mean, I'm a little surprised they're not on top of this a little bit more.
so as soon as Trump came into office, yes, there was a switch. He sent out the oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. The people who come and they build roads, the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, Corps of
Okay.
He
Engineers.
he sent them right away. He sent them to Swannanoa, which is East Asheville. They got hit the worst of anybody. They lost like thousands and thousands of homes, and whole neighborhoods just went down the river. So he did send them right away. But
Good.
there's still, and I know some money was dumped in by, Dolly Parton, Taylor Swift, a couple other musicians. We had big concerts, lots of money. But the money is in the billions as far as what was lost. So,
Yeah, it's going to take a long time to recover from
Mm-hmm.
that. It's going to need lots of concerts to help pay for those things. I mean, there's just so much damage.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Amy,
So,
I would like to kind of jump into,
okay.
you have just so much experience and so much knowledge, and on so many different areas. I'd like to start with just your journey with mental health. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay. It's kind of, it's been definitely been a journey. And it's hard to know what to talk about and what not to talk about because I feel so old. But
We are not old, Amy. We are not old.
we are not. But
50s are the new 30s. I hear this.
I know. I don't feel old. No. So
No,
I
I
guess
feel
my
great.
yeah, my mental health journey has been somewhat recent. And I think part of that was just people weren't talking about it. Like when I had postpartum depression, I didn't know what that was. When
Mm-hmm.
I had an eating
Yes.
disorder, nobody in high school, nobody was talking about how all of us were trying to be super skinny in the 80s. That was accepted. That was the way we were supposed to be. For a lot of us, that was the way they talked about it. We were just supposed to be super skinny, all of us.
And you were an
Um,
athlete. I believe you played
yes.
tennis and all kinds of
And
things.
I did not have a menstrual cycle my whole high school career. And until I probably got married, I never had one. I was just so skinny. And I was
Wow.
a restrictive eater. But before that, if my dad. And so
Yeah.
this is a little awkward, but my dad was a brilliant man. He was very generous, brilliant coach. He was my tennis coach. I was a very competitive tennis player. But he had another side. He was this overused term today, narcissist. He was the genuine definition. Like when you look up what is a narcissist, it was my dad, totally. And so growing up with that, he would tell my sister and I, "Oh, you're so fat." you're not going to get, if you ever get married, you're not going to ever get married if you're fat. Da, 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 da. Over and over again, almost every day. He was, I don't even know the words. Just, I guess after I got sober, I realized he was a dry drunk. He did not drink alcohol, but he had all the characteristics of somebody that uh, was an alcoholic, and that's called dry drunk. So yeah, which means he was manipulative, he gaslit, he was big gaslighter. And we didn't have those terms back then. I didn't say, oh, my dad's a narcissist and a gaslighter,
Yeah, no,
1989.
nobody talked about those things at all whatsoever.
No, and he did that. He did stuff like that until he passed away. He passed away in 2018, 7 years ago. He was still telling me I'm getting chubby and all this stuff.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
just, yeah. And I thought for the longest time that was just normal. Like going, when I went to college, I thought that was just a normal thing. I got married young, got married at 21. Didn't really realize all the ramifications of that. Um, so yeah, and my mom was very unemotional. No emotion in the family. I don't know if my mom ever hugged me. I don't remember if she did. We have a great relationship now, but back
Yes.
then it was different. I was involved in a ministry in high school, a parachurch ministry, and the term that people would use today is I was groomed. And I never said anything. There was no evidence. There's no emails back then, no texting. But this guy groomed me. He was married. So I went from all of this, went to college, got married. We went to seminary right away, moved away. And after 3 years, we were married. I had 3 kids right away under the age of 3. I started to get I don't even know how to describe it. It was postpartum depression, but I didn't know the words for it in 1996, 1997. I was um I was dizzy all the time. I couldn't get enough sleep. Sometimes I never slept. I was just trying to do my best as a young mom. I was staying home with the kids. Brian was working all the time. It was really hard. And I felt just like cloudy, like I really wasn't where I was. I felt weird. I felt kind of out of touch with myself. And so I said to Brian, I said, I think I need to go to therapy. I think something's wrong with me. And he's like, okay, yeah. La, la, la. So I found a therapist, um, went to him for a long time, and he started having sex with me, my
Oh,
Oh my
therapist.
goodness.
And I call it rape now. I can finally say that because it was. And that's when the internet had just been invented. Well, a few years before that. He had been texting and, well, not texting, but emailing me just really inappropriate stuff. So there was proof, but it took years for me to tell Brian this was going on. I just didn't want to tell him. I just stuffed it. I was like concentrating on the kids. They were little. They were like two,
Amy,
four,
that's so
5.
much to handle by yourself.
I was pushing it down. I was like, I got this. God's got this. I got it. And so I finally, after a couple of years of not telling him, I finally told him, and it killed him. And of
I
course,
can
I couldn't walk
imagine.
into a counselor's office after that. I would get PTSD and start having panic attacks when I'd walk into a counselor's office. So I couldn't go to counseling. Brian did. And we pressed charges through the counseling association, whatever that is in Texas. And
Very
he was
good.
convicted. He was convicted and he died. He died of a heart attack like a week later. Yeah.
wow.
What a story.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think I've ever told anybody this besides my own personal therapist. And so y'all get to be privy to this, I guess, if you would put it that way.
I'm
But
still in shock mode hearing you say that. I'm like, that the one
I
person you're
know.
supposed to trust and be able to confide in has
yeah,
violated
yeah,
everything, every level
yeah,
of trust you could have.
A hundred
yeah.
percent,
And
which
he,
I'm
yeah,
so glad you prosecuted him. So
Well, it
glad.
makes you wonder too, Amy, how many other victims did he have?
I know that's what I wonder too. Yeah, I
Wow.
I
do.
mean, yeah, there could be many women out there who had the same experience.
And the same thing with the leader in high school, the guy that groomed me. He never touched me, but it was grooming. And so I've always wondered, I
Did
know
that
he's in
play
the
in?
same well, I always wondered how many more women, how many more girls
Yeah.
since then.
That's
Well,
Because
because,
he's only,
grooming is a process. It takes trust,
yeah,
it's manipulation,
yeah,
it's all these things. And, unfortunately for women, we think that it's, them just being like a dad or a father figure or mentor when
being
they're really
involved. Yeah.
manipulating, trying to get to that next
yeah,
level of,
Mhm.
indecency.
yeah. And so
So,
after I
Amy,
told
I
Brian,
knew you in high school, and I would have never guessed you were going through that ever. I mean, you were
I
a
didn't know,
great stuffer.
no, I'm the master of disguise. So, like a couple of counselors,
Yes.
I'm a master of dissociated. I can dissociate now, not so much anymore because I've had healing and everything, but I was a master of disguise. Yes.
So, are you
All of
still
that.
dealing with PTSD in a counselor's office, or did you end up getting help for these things?
I did. I did, but at the same, I've been going to a woman for many, many years, and I would still, even sitting in front of her in person, I would still feel like I was like she was going to do something,
Mm,
like I wasn't safe. Um, and that lasted for a long time, and then it just kind of went away. It,
Okay.
finally just kind of went away. So yes, I got
Well,
a lot. We've had a lot of therapy. We've had a lot of marriage therapy, a lot of individual therapy. Yeah.
well, I mean, just kudos to your husband for working with you through all of this and staying next to your side. I mean, that is amazing.
Well, it didn't get any better because we moved to Asheville. Now, if you probably don't remember, but like in high school, I never drank. I was like a goody two shoe.
No, I
Like I
mean,
was,
no, not at all.
yeah, we were very legalistic when we got married. We didn't drink. We didn't have any friends who drank. We just didn't do it. We didn't think it was bad. We just didn't do it. Well, we moved to Asheville and the whole atmosphere changed. Like it is just a drinking town. Everybody drinks all the time. And it was really gradual. I would have a glass of wine at night. The kids were kind of little. They were like in elementary school. But I wasn't like over drinking. I wasn't binge drinking for years. It just slowly progressed because I still hadn't gotten therapy. I mean, I don't want to say caught because of that, I went to drink, but that is why. I mean,
That you were
um,
self-medicating in
yeah,
some
it's a way of
ways.
processing
Yeah.
it.
yeah, but I would never, if I would have talked to my 20-year-old self and told her that someday you're going to have a problem with drinking and be an alcoholic, she'd be like laughing because she had never had any drinks.
No,
And
you
she
were
was
very
just,
disciplined. You were a very disciplined person.
that's one way to put it. Yeah. Um, and so, gradually started drinking. It started with just wine. It started just with friends and maybe one glass of wine. And then it just got more and more, and it just kept progressing. And then the kids got older, by the time they were driving and stuff, I would go out and do stuff. I was a personal trainer. I think I started that around '09. That is for me, that was like a toxic environment for me at the club where I was at a country club where I was. Everybody was drinking all day long, liquid lunch, breakfast, mimosas. The tennis players were drinking, the golfers, and it just that whole culture encouraged it.
Yeah.
Um, and so it just got worse and worse and worse. And then the kids left. They went to college, they left. Two of them one of them got married really young. She got married at 21, 6 years ago. When Trevor left for college, he and I were like best friends. He left for college in 2015, and that was really hard on both of us, on both Brian and I. And then we moved to Brevard. No kids. I really went downhill. That was 7.5, 8 years ago. I just went downhill. Drinking even more. I would hide it from Brian. I would replace the whiskey. I would steal the whiskey and replace it. Put whiskey in my wine so he wouldn't know I was drinking whiskey. He thought I was just drinking wine. I would have a couple
Wow.
of bottles of wine a day. It just got really bad, and I really hurt Brian through those years. Like the stuff that I said and did to him, I don't even know. I think there is a name for it. When you do things that you don't even remember or that you would never ever do when you're drinking, there's a name for that. And it's
Trying to
not
think
an
of what that
excuse.
is.
I know,
It's
counselor.
especially with ADHD people. It's
Okay.
really because I'm ADHD. There's something in your brain to where all your inhibitions, I mean, you don't have as many inhibitions when you're drinking anyway, but there's something else that happens. I don't know, because I even wanted a brain scan after I got sober. I'm like, what is wrong with
I'm going
me?
to have to look this up. My counselor self wants to know the term.
Well, there
Well, I
is a
mean,
term, but
I'm assuming they diagnosed you with high functioning alcohol, right?
uh, yeah, I never went to an alcoholic specialist, but yes,
Okay.
I was definitely an alcoholic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but
But you
alcohol
were
just
able to function. You were training people. You were doing
for a
all the things
while.
you would
Yes.
normally do.
Yes. Yes, for a
Yeah.
while. And then I started drinking in the morning and I would like cancel work. And that was when
Uh,
I knew I was an alcoholic probably a couple years before I went and got help. I was like so embarrassed. I'm a pastor's wife. I'm an alcoholic. I just cannot believe this. And I would shame myself and I was so embarrassed, but I just kept drinking and I couldn't stop. It just kept
Yeah.
getting worse. Um, Alcohol is a poison. I mean,
It
it
mhm.
totally
is.
changes your chemistry. As far as we know, it's not anywhere in my family. And everybody I know that's an alcoholic says, oh, well, my dad and this. I'm like, I don't know anybody who drank in my family or had a problem with it. And so it was like a shock, kind of a shock to everybody.
But I go back to your
But
I do
trauma,
too.
Amy. I feel like the reason you turned to alcohol is because you did not deal with your trauma.
I agree.
yes, yes. At the same time, I didn't realize I had that much trauma.
You had a lot
When
of
you're in the,
trauma.
Well,
yeah,
and I also
but
too
when
think,
you're,
Amy, with you describing your father and then describing your mom very disconnected, that maybe you didn't even
Mhm.
understand or realize your own behavior because that was kind of taught to you. Does that make sense?
Yes. So I didn't know my own emotions. I had never shown my emotions.
Uh-uh.
Um, and that was evident the first year I got sober. I cried every day. I couldn't go anywhere hardly. I was working, but I was working very part-time. Brian and I were not getting along. He didn't understand the whole alcohol addiction thing. We were living as enemies in the same house, and that lasted for years. It's only been in the past couple of years that I feel like we are closer than ever. Our marriage is stronger than ever, but it has taken a boatload of work. And
But you know what? That's such
like
a
that.
testament
Yeah.
because there's so many struggling marriages out there. And what I want to
Mhm.
tell them is you can get to the other side of this and it will be even better. But I mean, y'all are a
Yeah,
testament to that.
yes, we are because been some horrible things that, first of all, that he was not, he said some really mean things to me when we were first married. He was just a boy. I was just a girl. And then I did some really mean things to him. So we've kind of abused each other. And it's like that. I listened to one of your podcasts with Abby, and she said it's Jesus shit. Jesus
Yeah.
did all
Yeah.
this. Yeah, and I like that term. I'm like, I'm going to use that term. Um,
You know me. If you watched it, Amy, that's totally my lingo.
okay. Well, yeah, I had to like clean up my testimony a little bit when I shared it in front of the church, but when I share it with other recovery groups, there's like F bomb and this bomb
Yeah.
and all kinds of bombs. So I'm like, okay.
Sometimes
But
you
the recovery,
gotta make a
Yeah,
point.
you do.
sometimes there's no other words. I mean, yeah, you
Yeah.
have to make a point. There's no words. Um, but Jesus and God has totally redeemed this. He's reversed it. That first year of sobriety was awful. I was suicidal. And I know a lot of people in recovery that don't acknowledge God. They don't believe in God. And I'm like, who do you think got you sober? How do
Mm.
you think you're here today? And that is something I can't wrap my brain around when people say that to me. I just pray for them. I don't understand that. Um, and there a lot of it, if anybody should be mad at the church or mad at Christianity or mad at God, like if you want to say there's a scorecard, like you're scorekeeping, I should be mad at God. That counselor that did that to me was a Christian therapist. The
Oh my
guy that was in
gosh.
high school that groomed me, that was a Christian organization. My dad, I don't know if my dad was a Christian back then. He died a Christian, but and then the people that I've been hurt with by the most are people in churches because you know why? because we're sick. People in
Yeah.
churches are sick.
Well,
Why we need
yeah,
God?
they're human and they have,
Yeah.
they're going to have sin. And I think people
Mhm.
miscalculate that and they say, oh, if you're part of a church that, there's no sin in there, but there is. It's full of sinners,
That's,
right? So, of course there's going to
yeah.
be bad things that happen.
hmm And I've noticed a lot of people in recovery, at least a lot of people here in recovery, do not. So part of the recovery is the 12 steps and all that. And I think everybody should do 12 steps for everything. Like if you're
Yeah.
angry, if you're controlling, I think everybody could benefit from it. But part of the 12 steps, a big part of it are resentments. Well, if you're holding on to a resentment or bitterness or anger, that's going to cause you to probably drink again or get into whatever it is you were doing again. A lot of the people that I know are holding on to those resentments from when they were kids about their church, about either the
Yes.
church being, yeah, they won't let go of it. And that just breaks my heart because they're creating this, I'm not going to believe in God because these people at this church hurt me.
Well, you have to
Instead
remember
of,
religion and faith are two different things, right?
yes, yes, that's not God.
Religion is a church
Yeah.
where you have flawed human beings, and faith is a perfect relationship with God, right? So that's a
Right.
whole different thing.
And I guess what God has protected me from, because that could be me. I could be somebody who would never go back to church. My husband's a pastor, and we probably wouldn't be married
Right.
anymore. But God protected me, and I knew that that wasn't just because those people did that to me, that doesn't mean that that's what a church is or what God is. I knew that. I knew that that's not God.
Yeah.
And so God gave me that at least, through all this. And
Well, and
then
I think also too important thing, Amy, is what you're just saying is about the church is biblically, scripture wise, it's all about fallen people, their stories
yes,
of struggles, their stories of redemption, the stories of murderers and becoming kings and becoming Christians. I mean, there's so many stories there that if we literally took the time to reflect on it, it's no different from our lives now.
Hmm.
that's right. That's right. Yep.
And the
Yeah.
church
You
is
look
there
at
to
David.
help reform, right? That's there to help people reform.
Yes, they should be. There's a lot of good churches that do. They help people heal and they're authentic. And that's part of the reason I wanted to share my story in front of church because I wanted to help create the ethos there of let's be authentic. Let's not hide. Let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about mental health. Let's talk about this. And after I shared that, got dozens of people who said thank you. My granddaughter went through this. My mom went through this. I went through this. My daughter. Thank you so much. And it just destigmatizes, which is what you guys are doing. It destigmatizes everything because we cannot do this alone. And we have to ask for help. Don't do what I did. Don't push it down. I did that for years and years. And yes, it did affect my kids. I can't go back and change that. I can't do anything about it. But I
But you're
can
setting the
meet them.
example for them, Amy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're
And
setting the example of what it is to forgive and
yes,
heal.
yes, and they are so proud of me. My older one tells me all the time. The other two kind of tell me that. I don't want them to really tell me that. I just want them to heal. Um,
Yeah.
my oldest daughter, and I asked permission, but she has gone through a lot of mental health challenges. She's almost 30 and she's doing very well right now. But we had to put her in a facility for 3 months a couple years ago. We had to go get her in Colorado. She's living in Colorado. Pretty much drag her away from addiction. We drove out here. It's so expensive, you guys. It's so expensive to do all this. We're very middle class. Okay. Um, and it's $30,000 a month to put her in a facility that was good. That's not a state run. You don't want to put them in a state run facility.
No.
Your counselors. Um, it was 30,000 a month to do that for 3 months, plus aftercare for 4 months was around 6 to 8,000. That did not include food. And we would do it again.
Of course you would.
God provided the money for that. Um, and to this day, I'm like, where did that money come from? So, but it was God.
Well, and here's
It's a God
the
thing.
tragedy to all that too, though, Amy, is a lot of people don't get that help because it's so stinking expensive. And it's like,
I mean, if there's anything we could do to reform being able to
Mhm.
provide people ways to pay for this
Yeah.
because it would change lives. It would change lives.
Hey, that's why I'm starting Purple. That's why I started Purple Place. It
That
came
was a
out of
great
all of
segment
it.
into that.
Yeah. It came out of all of this with having a place, because I'm a fitness trainer. I've always been, working out, always been an athlete. And over the years, 30 years of ministry, 16 years of fitness, and all my story, my daughter's story. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Why is all of this segmented? The body is one unit. Our food, the exercise, everything, how we move our bodies has to do, and vice versa, has to do with our brains. We need to feed our brains the right food, move every day. It's not going to like make depression go away, but there's studies after study after study that it
Yes,
helps
there
a
are.
lot.
I'm a
Yes.
big
And
proponent of teaching people that part of your mental health care is being physically healthy.
yes, and there's that whole new field at Stanford, metabolic psychiatry. 5 years old. It's new as
Yeah.
of 5 years. There, and my own story with my metabolism is new. I found out a couple of months ago I'm pre-diabetic. I exercise every day,
Oh
but
my goodness, how is that possible?
my mom is and my sister is, and since the hurricane, I've been like Cookie Monster.
Okay.
Uh,
So just because of my age, I'm almost menopausal, I'm not menopausal, whatever you call it. All the hormones causes metabolic syndrome in a lot
it's
of
called a
women.
hot mess, Amy.
It's a hot mess.
And so as of 6 weeks ago, I haven't had really any sugar. And I know that's restrictive eating, and some people don't like to hear stuff like that, but that is really helping me. It has cleared my brain. I have more energy. It just made a huge difference. And so, Purple Place, it's very new. About a year and a half ago, I hired two business coaches, a business plan writer, a marketing girl, somebody to do financials, a CPA, and I have two lawyers. It's taken, a lot of work to get all this into place. But Purple Place is for anybody who can't afford any kind of mental health therapy or coaching, fitness training, and kind of concierge service and nutrition, fitness, all of that. Now, there are places like this, but it's bougie and it's a few $1,000s. I want
Right.
every woman who wants and needs the help to be able to go to this, come and, do an intake assessment and be able to get these services. And we're very new. And my goal is in like 2 to 3 years, have a big women's only full gym with part-time childcare, therapy rooms, nutrition counseling, the whole thing. And of course, that takes funding. So we're working on that, and I hired a grant writing team. So, and plus I'm doing my personal training full time right now, and that is funding Purple Place right now. So what I'm doing is funding
Wow.
it until we get
Well,
funding. Yeah.
you know that this is our passion, Amy. This is what we created
Uh,
Mental Perk for. So any way we can support you in the
Yes.
Purple Place, we definitely want to do that.
well, we need money, and I need people to know that Western North Carolina, all the funds that would originally maybe diverted to new nonprofits are being diverted to hurricane help.
Oh gosh, I
And
didn't
so
even make
since
that
I did not
connection.
Yeah, so like a lot of the say, oh, write this company. I'm like, well, I did write that company, and their response is, did you have physical damage because of the hurricane? And I'm like, well, no. Well, we can't help you right now. So
Wow.
I know God's going to provide it, but yeah, so we do need funding, and we do have a good company working on that, and
Well, we can
yeah, it's
push
been a
that through
ride.
our program for sure.
Okay, yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Purple Place. You've kind of described it, but like help us understand, like even the title has specific meaning. Tell us about that.
Yes. Okay, well, purple has just all these deep meanings, both spiritually and just, in history. So it means redemption. It means full of life, a new story, redemption, beautiful, a princess, a queen. You have meaning. That's what the color purple means. It's just really rich. It's a royal color. Plus, it's my
Yes.
favorite color. my marketing girl came up with it. We spent hours and hours on the phone. There's like four of us working on what to call it, why. And we, said, let's table it. And then one morning I woke up and she texted me on my phone with the logo and the name. I'm like, yes, that's it.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And you just
Our
knew in that
identity.
moment.
Yeah, that we are special, we are worth it, we are loved. All of that means purple. So
So walk us through what a client would go through at PurplePlace. Like, tell us like what you guys do. Like, help us understand what somebody would go through to be a part of this program.
okay. So if somebody calls me or texts me or whatever and wants to come to PurplePlace or need therapy, we have an intake that they can do it on the computer. Just fill out a form of, it's actually about 3 pages. It's pretty long, but it's very good because they get to kind of answer questions about themselves, about what are they doing for their health right now? How do they feel about their health? How do you feel about your body? So it's like three main categories of mental health, physical health, and spiritual. So how are you moving your body? What are you eating? What foods are you allergic to? Would you call yourself paleo? Would you call yourself a carnivore? Are you a vegan? And then a lot of questions about how they're feeling about themselves. Are they feeling like they're in a crisis right now? And all of that. Like I took that from some therapists I know. Some therapists have helped me write this. And
Okay.
then of course all the nutrition. Yeah. So I have like 4 therapists right now that are like consulting with me, helping me, that have helped me figure out the intake assessment for this. But then some women just want to come in and work out. They just want to come in and work out with other women.
Yeah.
And as we're working out, all this stuff sometimes comes up because I put out, okay, we have these grief support groups right now. If you want to be a part of this grief support group. And then they're like, I want to do it. And so I'll sign them up and send them to the counselor or the therapist who's doing that. So right now it's a network. So I have a network of counselors, mental health therapists, psychiatrists, nutritionists, coaches from all different. I need a lot more coaches because I want to get more diverse as far as I want to get a neurodivergent coach, an eating disorder coach, which I've had some certifications in that, but I think,
Yeah.
I need different people. And so I'm looking for a lot more coaches. And I have
So
like
at
4
this
personal
point,
trainers.
once they go through your intake, then they're referred to these services, but these people are not on
Yes,
staff right now. That's
they are
kind of
not
the
on
journey
staff.
you're going down, right?
Some of the services is specifically for PurplePlace, like the grief support group. She kind of created that, and we kind of funnel some people that come to me into that grief support group.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had events just for PurplePlace. I had a fundraising event, and where we had 4 different talks having to do with mental health. So there are some specific things that I have done, but it's limited right now because I have to work full time and I don't have money. So don't have much money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're training from the PurplePlace. That's where your business takes place.
Yeah, so my studio is actually called Get Fit Nut. That's my
Okay.
that's my regular LLC. It's not a nonprofit. And so most of my clients can pay and are very able to pay for everything through Get Fit Nut. And
Okay.
so because it's an LLC and it's not a nonprofit, I can use that money however I want in a different bank account that funds people who want to come into PurplePlace. It sounds a little complicated, but it's really not. But people who come into PurplePlace who cannot afford it, they just pay part of it. And then my funds pick up the rest of it through it that's been donated through Get FitNet to PurplePlace.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the lawyer helped me set all that up. It's actually, there's so many rules with starting a nonprofit. It was like my head was like spinning, like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah, it's a
so hard.
complicated process for sure.
And I guess it should be. And the way that I don't have a model for this. Like I've done so much research and maybe you guys can find one, but I can't find a model for a nonprofit, holistic fitness training, nutrition, and mental. I cannot find one. Now there's lots of ones that are for profit, but I haven't found a nonprofit model. So, And so I'm
That's
feeling like I have
amazing
to kind
because, that has been kind of my thought is it's so important for all those pieces to work together that creating a
of,
place where it does all of that and it's inclusive,
hmm
it's just an
hmm
amazing idea because it really can help people holistically heal.
yes, yes. And that is the vision. And that I would say I'm a kind of a metabolic evangelist. Like just we've got to fix. It's only I think I heard it's just 7% of all Americans are metabolically healthy. Only 7%. Okay,
Wow.
and
Yeah,
what
I'm
else
sure
do
I'm
we
not a part of that 7% either, Amy.
Well, and what
Yeah.
else is a crisis right now? Mental health. Okay, that
Oh
can't be a
yeah.
coincidence.
Huge. Yeah.
Well,
That
and
can't be a
they
coincidence.
play with each other. So if you're, if you're
Yes.
mentally off,
Yeah.
sometimes you can work out and you get that cortisol pump. You get all these different, and I wish people
Yeah.
understood how they work together.
Yeah, I'm just saying it
Totally.
helps my mental health. I can't not work out because it's so it motivates me in so many ways to
Right.
do life.
That's right. Yeah. Now I have to say that first year of sobriety, I had a hard time working out. Uh, I wish I would have had a place like PurplPlace to kind of go and get the motivation to get, oh, just a safe space just to be instead of around, I didn't want to be around any men. I didn't want to be around just very many people. And so, yeah, there's all kinds of reasons why God just made it very clear that I needed to start something like PurplPlace. He just told me in different ways, different people made it very clear. So,
Yeah. It's so empowering for women to have a space like that where they can go and feel safe
Mm-hmm.
and know that they can get these kinds of services that are only going to empower them and make them a better version of themselves.
right. And there are a lot of women, especially since have had this idea for a couple of years. There's a lot of women that won't go to a gym with men. Now, I was not one of them. I just would go to a gym and it didn't bother me. But when I started my healing, it did bother me.
Yeah.
And then I started hearing from other women, oh, I won't go to a gym with a guy, or I won't wear spandex. I'm like, well, you don't have to wear spandex. She's like, well, everybody wears spandex. I have to wear spandex. I'm like, no, you don't have to wear that. So it's just all these things that we think, but no, that's not true. And so if it was a women's only and did all these other things, just the whole ethos and the whole atmosphere, is going to be awesome. So
Yeah, absolutely. Amy, you've just had an amazing story. Like I said, I've known you for years that we've not been in contact for a while,
yeah,
but in high school we were pretty close. And so
yeah.
to know that you've gone through all these things and I just had no idea because
I mean,
you were like you
nobody.
said, you wore so many different masks.
I did. I was really good. Yeah,
So
I can laugh about it now, but
if we look back and we're like, if we're thinking about, how would you like to close this out? What would you like to tell the audience? How would you like to drive your message home for what you're doing and what you're accomplishing?
yeah, I guess one of the main things is to ask for help. I didn't ask for help. That's one of the main things that, that I tell people is ask for help. And oh, if I could tell my 20-year-old self 3 words, it would say never drink. You better never start drinking. Just watch how you deal with stress. Don't let it go too far. The drinking or whatever addictions, all kinds of addictions, smoking, porn, shopping, there's all kinds of addictions. And just watch that and have some good community. I guess that would be the number one thing is good community that you'll be able to ask for help. Friends,
Yeah.
community, a church, some kind of a group where you have support all the time. Like start right now.
100%. We
So,
can't do this alone. We are people that are,
right.
I mean, as people we're meant to have community and we can't get through life without that. We have to be able to connect with each other and support each other. It's so important to have community.
And I had shut myself off. I was going to church. I was going to some events, but I shut myself off. I was just going through the motions. So I wanted to
And
protect
a lot
myself.
of
I didn't
that
want anybody.
was your unhealed trauma,
Mm-hmm.
right? there was a lot of
Yes.
shame and guilt with that and that trauma, and it caused you to withdraw.
That's right. So
So, well, Amy,
I
you've
guess
been
that
an
would be it.
amazing guest. I know what you're doing with Purple Place is going to impact women everywhere. I hope we get it some national attention for you. We would love to keep partnering with you and promoting
Okay.
that, because you're going to have to get support outside of the Carolinas right now due to what they're going through. So, we definitely want to draw national attention to that.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me on. This has been an honor. It's an honor to knowing you, Carla, for all these years, and Brandy, meeting you. So thank
too.
you.
You are so
So
welcome,
welcome.
Amy. And we're going to put all that information on our site so that people can find
Okay.
all of your social media, your nonprofit, the Purple Place, and how to reach out and donate to you.
Okay, great. And I will publicize Mental Perk.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. If you or anyone you know is struggling with mental health issues, please reach out to talk to someone you trust. Get connected to a mental health professional who can help you find ways to cope and ultimately feel better. If you are having suicidal or self-harm thoughts or thoughts of hurting another person, please go to the nearest ER, call 911, or contact the National Suicide Hotline at 988. Thank you for tuning in to Mental Perk. We hope our talk today highlighted real people working through real issues based on mental health. Our goal at Mental Perk is to make sure every one of you knows you're worthy. We're in this together.